Okay, yes, I know, I said A Bad Man's Christmas would be first, but when I went to go and see that showing, unfortunately the screen they were showing that particular timing on had broken, and the next showing was not until 2 hours, so I thought I'd jump straight into Murder on the Orient Express, so I have seen that. This is my review for that, and this is why this review is up first. And if you haven't seen my previous video, which probably explains why I'm saying all of this, then I guess you don't really care what's happening and you're here to see a review, so let's get on with it! Murder on the Orient Express. So Murder on the Orient Express is the latest mystery crime drama that is based on the Agatha Christie novel of the same name and stars Kenneth Branagh, Daisy Ridley, Derek Jacobi, Michelle Pfeiffer, Penelope Cruz, Josh Gad, Willem Dafoe, Leslie Odom Jr, Judie Dench, Olivia Colman and Johnny Depp. I mean, there is a really big cast in this movie. And in this movie, when a group of strangers are all aboard the Orient Express, which is taken them to their next location but is unfortunately stopped due to an avalanche and a body is found, it is up to Hercule Poirot, who is one of the passengers on this train, to find out who the killer is before they are rescued. And that's all I'm going to say about this movie, because that's all this movie really gives away. And if you are familiar with Agatha Christie's novels or even those short TV series that I've had before, and I also believe it was either an episode or a movie based on this novel as well, made previously. So if you are familiar with all of that and all of the past works and you are a fan of that, I feel like you will really enjoy this movie, because this movie does a really good job of adapting the novel. I mean, I hope it does anyway. I haven't actually read the novel, I haven't seen the previous TV episode or movie it was based on. But I personally, thanks to my grandparents, actually grew up watching a lot of these crime dramas that were on TV, one of my favourites being Poirot, however you pronounce his name. And to see him on the big screen being portrayed by Kenneth Branagh, who is a fantastic actor, I was actually really excited for this movie, especially when seeing the cast that are also taking part in this film. As you can probably tell when I read them all off, there is a huge cast in this movie, and all of them give great performances. I mean, I don't think any of the performances in this movie are their best, but it's definitely not their worst. I like their characters. There is always that mystery behind each and every one of them. And what Agatha Christie can do really well is she can make every character in her stories appear to be a suspect just by the smallest little detail. And because of that, you never really know who the killer is, and as the movie goes along and it keeps giving you these clues, you start leaning towards one person when that's thrown up in the air, before suddenly being geared to another person and then another person, leaving you questioning everything you know and you're seeing in this film. Hell, even Poirot, the world's most famous detective in this movie, finds it really difficult to piece everything together. This is a very rare instance in which this detective is actually struggling to find out who the killer is. And when it comes to its conclusion and it's revealed who the killer actually is, I didn't see it coming, and I very much doubt a lot of you will, unless of course you've read the novel or seen the other episode or film it was based on. And that's me presuming that it is still the same in those ones as it is in this. And as far as the performances go, as I've said, everyone gave a really good performance in this movie. I mean, Kenneth Branagh as Poirot I thought was absolutely fantastic in this film. Personally, I prefer David Suchet, the guy who played him in the original ITV series. I completely butchered his name there. I mean, my brain just melted trying to say it, so I'll leave his name down here for you guys to read. I mean, is it David Suchet? Say David Suchet? I generally don't know how to pronounce it. So yeah, although I do prefer his portrayal of Poirot, I think that's because I've grown up with seeing him as that character, so seeing someone else take it on is a bit weird for me. But Kenneth Branagh did a really good job of portraying this character. He brought all the quirks to life, he brought all the intelligence of this character to life, plus he was rocking the tash. As for everyone else in this movie, they were all great, they all gave good performances, as I've already said. And from some of the shots created in this movie, you can tell that Kenneth Branagh does have a love for Agatha Christie's works. Because this movie is superbly directed, it doesn't ever give anything too much away, whilst also keeping us invested in what's happening. I mean, this movie could have turned out to be very boring, because all this movie really is Hercule Poirot talking to the suspects and trying to piece everything together. There's very little action or fast-paced sequences in this movie. However, in that does lead to one of my little flaws with this movie, because the pacing I felt was better when it was all slow-paced and just talking to try and figure everything out. Sure, the more faster-paced action-type moments that do appear are entertaining, but they just felt a little bit out of place in this film. And in one particular moment, it took away from the isolated atmosphere this movie had already set before itself. Another small flaw I have with this movie is not every character is as fleshed out as you'd probably like them to be, but I do understand that in a movie like this, you're not supposed to know as much about these characters until it gets towards the end. However, when the climax actually happened, I found myself a lot more intrigued with the characters if I go back for a second watch than I was the first time. But also in that, because you find out who the killer is in the first time you watch it, it may take away from the viewing experience the second time you watch it, which does make the rewatchability for this movie a little bit lackluster compared to other films. Overall though guys, I had a really good time with this movie. I thought it was well acted, it was well directed, the cinematography cinematography was really good. Although the score was hit and miss every now and then, for the most part it worked for the setting, the atmosphere that it needed to during certain scenes. And other than a few pacing issues for me personally, I had a pretty good time with this movie. It's definitely not a movie that I urge you all to see immediately. It's nothing groundbreaking or anything like that. And there are also some comedic elements in this film that I feel did clash with the tone the movie was setting before itself as well. It is a movie that if you are a fan of mystery crime dramas and you are a fan of Agatha Christie's works, you will probably get an absolute kick out of this film. And because I grew up with Poirot, I found myself getting more of a kick than I probably would have had I never seen it before. Because there are nice little references and Easter eggs to Agatha Christie's other works, and even a possibility for a setup of a sequel, which I don't really normally like movies doing. I don't like they're setting up a different universe or setting up a sequel or anything like that, but in this movie, you know, I'm actually quite happy to see a sequel. And I'd be even more happy if Kenneth Branagh returned to play Poirot and direct it. Anyway, for all the reasons I've just said, I think it's a really good film. I'd definitely watch it again personally because I'm a fan of Agatha Christie's works. If you're not a fan of mystery crime dramas or anything like that, you may not enjoy this film. I personally had a good time, and so for all of that, I'm going to give Murder on the Orient Express 3 stars. So, Murder on the Orient Express, have you guys seen it yet? What did you think about it? Whatever you thought, let me know in the comment section below. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and if you want to see more videos just like this one, then subscribe to my channel for more. Thanks again for watching. You guys are awesome, and I will see you all in the next video.